Hey dudes, this is Bonnie Hayes. I sang Girls Like Me on the original Valley Girl soundtrack. You're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. He fucking rocks.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming a lovely lady with a lovely voice. She was the lead singer of one of the great short-lived bands of the 80s, Lone Justice, and I'm talking about the multi-talented Maria McKee. I am so fucking excited to have her on the show today. I grew up watching her videos on VH1's The Big 80s back in the 90s, and she's so talented. She has a new album out, by the way. Let me see if I can pronounce it. La Vita Nuova. I'll confirm it when I talk to her. And we're going to go through her career and stuff. And as it turns out, she's a horror and sci-fi fan. So we're going to have a really great conversation today, and I am so friggin' excited about it. It's going to be super awesome. There's no other way to put it. And happy 40th anniversary, by the way, to AC/DC's Back in Black album. A fucking masterpiece. It's very rare that a album with another lead singer after the lead singer dies turns out that awesome. So yeah, here is my interview with Maria McKee. Hey Maria.
Hey, how are you?
I am great. How are you today?
I'm good.
Awesome. Awesome. This is a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Sure.
Today's the 40th anniversary of AC/DC's Back in Black album.
Oh, it is? Oh, I saw them play in, I think it was in 90-ish, 1990 in Ireland in Dublin.
Oh, Ireland and Dublin. That's nice. Yeah, my father saw them a bunch of times. The most recent was 1981 on the For Those About to Rock tour. He took my my cousin to go there with her friend, and it was a damn good show. I think Def Leppard opened or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Joe Elliott lived in Ireland, so he was at the show, and he was sort of he and his wife were sitting in the same row. I remember that day, that night. I think it was one of the big arenas in Dublin. I can't remember which one. Maybe the Point. I think there's a place called the Point in Ireland. Yeah, that was memorable. Memorable.
I can imagine. I mean, I've heard stories about Ireland and how great of a place it is.
Yeah, I lived there from 88 to 91-ish. And I had a little house there that I sold in 97 or 8. So it was kind of my second home for many, many, many years. And I have extended family there. It's kind of, it's been an important part of my life, Ireland.
I'm sure LA just got insane by that point.
Yeah. I think I went there. Yeah, I think I went there for the first time in '88 because Lone Justice had done a tour with, several tours with U2.
Yeah.
And so I went as a tourist, and I just met all these incredible people. Some of whom are still my good friends. And one of my best friends in London is a Guinness, and so I go there with her sometimes for family events and things. And then my roommate in London, who's also my best friend there, is Irish, and she has a baby girl who's like my goddaughter. So I'll always have a tie there.
Yeah, that's sweet though. So, going back in time, at what age did you start gravitating toward music?
Well, I grew up sort of in a time warp. My mom had me when she was 40, and she was born in 1925. So I sort of saw the world through her eyes a little bit, and I became obsessed with like 1930s and 40s movies and stuff when I was a little girl, and really latched on to like Shirley Temple and Judy Garland and these sort of young singers.
Yeah.
And I think I just didn't really understand that I couldn't just grow up to be Judy Garland. Like I thought it was the 1940s. You know? So, you know, it started out just like singing and dancing to the Little Rascals and stuff, you know, and really getting into musicals and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until my teens that I got into like pop music and rock and roll and stuff. I mean, even though, you know, my brother was in one of the most important LA rock bands of all time.
Arthur Lee's Love.
Yeah. Well, my brother was Brian McLean, who was one of the main songwriters in the band.
Yeah.
That was their biggest hit, The Lanigan Or. So, you know, I mean, I grew up going to the Whiskey A Go-Go at 3 and seeing the Doors and Frank Zappa and Love. So, but I think that had an influence on me later in life, but I found my own way to, like, learning how to sing and stuff like that from, like, you know, old-timey showbiz. That was really how I discovered that I was a performer. And then I joined the children's theater group when I was 10, and we used to go to other schools and do productions and musicals, Gilbert and Sullivan and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have any memory of seeing those bands at that age?
Very, very vague. I remember the parties in Laurel Canyon at my brother's house. I think they were living in Bela Lugosi's house.
Oh.
In Laurel Canyon for a minute. And then when I saw the Doors movie when it came out, there were the scenes that were meant to be taking place in the Whiskey. I just had this wash of nostalgia come over me, sort of deja vu. So I feel like I don't have like actual conscious memories of being at the Whiskey at 3 and seeing the Doors, but certain things sort of conjure it, and I get flashes.
Wow. Yeah, I just interviewed Bela Lugosi Jr.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's a very nice man, yeah. And I
feel like Johnny Depp lived in that house for a minute as well in the 90s because we were friends, and I remember going up there.
Mm-hmm.
Laurel Canyon. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I'm sure you could look that up, but I'm pretty sure Johnny lived there as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, one famous person after another can live in the same mansion, you know, in different decades. You know, Jerry Lewis, he lived in Louis B. Mayer's estate for a long time.
Who did?
Jerry Lewis.
Oh, he lived in Louis B. Mayer's estate. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my brother's father was an architect. He's kind of one of the unsung LA architects. His name was George McLean, because we had different fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But his father was named George McLean, and he built a lot of the houses, the sort of famous houses in Hollywood. He built like the Mike Todd house.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. He designed and built 2 houses for Liz Taylor's husband. He did the Mike Todd house and also the house that Eddie Fisher lived in.
Oh.
Liz. And I think he built like Bill McRae's house, but he sort of, you know, he contributed a lot to that sort of eclectic style that we have here, which is sort of like, you know, I live not far from Beverly Hills, and so whenever I go for these long walks, it's always so fascinating to see the varying architecture. You go from like Tudor to Mediterranean to Moorish to like mid-century modern. It's just so fascinating, you know. But I think his style was kind of like the French kind of chateau-y looking style.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. What? And sort of Tudor. I think he introduced a lot of that sort of Tudor style as well.
Mm-hmm. What was your first instrument?
Piano.
Piano.
Definitely.
You do play good piano, I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
How many instruments do you play overall?
You know, guitar, piano, and drums very, very badly. But I play drums too.
Yeah, I have no musical talent whatsoever. My dad had a rock band in the early '90s in San Francisco, and
oh wow,
Yeah, they were a trio called T&A, but not named after tits and ass. It was named after my dad's name's Tommy, and his drummer's name was Alan, so they just called it T&A. And they did these horrible covers of Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, and they did horrible original songs too.
Oh, how funny!
They were awful. They were awful. But my dad's a pretty good guitarist, though. But yeah, I have fat fingers. I can't get a grasp after one note. I can play one note. That's it.
Yeah, it's hard. I have really small hands, so it's really hard. I have to get guitars that have small necks.
Yeah. Do you remember the first album you ever bought?
Well, I mean, I remember. Again, I was like in a time warp, but I remember buying an album when I was like around 8 years old called The Sound of the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I bought it from like an antique store in West Hollywood. But it was a new record that they just happened to have there. And it was all, Ruth Etting and Eddie Cantor and Al Jolson and, literally the sound of the 20s. Helen Kane.
Yeah.
Then I think the second album I bought with my own money was when I was 13 and I had Christmas money and I bought the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I still, to this day, worship disco music.
Really?
I love it. It's my happy music. Yeah, absolutely.
I like it, I mean, I think it gets short shrift for sure, I love a lot of it, especially from the people who came from just plain R&B and then they kind of adapted into it,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Donna Summer is one of my biggest influences vocally.
Yeah, I love Donna Summer. I heard she was a very sweet lady too. Yeah,
she was.
Do you remember the first concert you ever paid for to go to?
I think it's probably Springsteen on the River Tour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. I've talked to a guy. He's seen him like 27 times since 1973 on like every tour and stuff. And he does these, 3 to 4 hour concerts and just, goes from being very, slow and dark and moody and acoustic to like rocking. It's an eclectic show Springsteen has.
Yeah. I haven't seen him since the 80s, but that's probably one of the reasons I became a musician, was seeing him.
Yeah, my dad got to meet him in 1976 because my dad went to high school with his sister Pamela.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he brought home the gold record for Born to Run.
Oh, wow.
And they hung it on the wall.
Wow.
Living room wall, yeah.
Wow.
I'm always hoping someday I'm going to meet Bruce and tell him that story.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, actually.
Yeah. So did you play in high school bands?
No, I was in the theater company.
Mm-hmm.
I did like serious theater school training at Beverly High. I was in like experimental theater workshops with Nicolas Cage and stuff. Like it was just, we did like plays together. And, yeah, that was mine. And then, but no, actually, it's true. I did. My brother put a band together for me during high school, and I actually quit high school to do that. So yeah, no, I did actually.
So was...
gave up my theater, my budding theater career.
Mm-hmm.
To sing in bars around LA. I remember my theater arts director at the school practically burst into tears when I told him I was quitting. It was like, I hope you know what you're doing. I wanted to go to Juilliard. I wanted to be like, the next Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
Bernadette Peters. But it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, you could have been on your own cop show by now.
Yeah. Although Broadway's gone dark, so I'd be out of a job.
Yeah. So was Lone Justice your official band?
Well, my first official official band was the band I was in with my brother, which
Right.
we called the Brian McLaren Band. But then, yeah, Lone Justice was the next official band.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was a sort of theatrical experiment that we took too far. It was just kind of like, you know, kids from LA sort of adopting this kind of like Dust Bowl, Depression era hillbilly punk rock thing.
Yeah.
You know, to this day, people are like, "Oh, aren't you from the South?" I'm like, "No, actually, I was born and raised in Century City. I'm a theater arts student. Thank you." You know, Lone Justice was just a sort of, you know, cinematic experiment, but it stuck.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
You guys had a very unique sound with this mesh of rockabilly, country, gospel, punk, and pop all rolled into one. I think that's where the term cowpunk was born.
Yeah, we were one of the first cowpunk bands.
Yeah, you guys like right were at the forefront of the LA punk scene with bands like X, Black Flag, Circle Jerks. The Go-Go's were big.
Yeah, we were like probably second or third wave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, first wave would have been like The Decline of Western Civilization Part 1, like all those bands. You know, like The Bag, Catholic Discipline, Fear, yeah, Black Flag, the early incarnation of that band. And then there was like a rockabilly sort of post-punk phase after that with the Blasters, and then kind of Los Lobos sort of came out of that scene, even though they weren't really rockabilly, and bands like the Red Devils and, you know, these kind of crazy goth kind of combo rockabilly, gothabilly bands.
Yeah.
And then that sort of, you know, like the Gun Club was kind of came out of that, and then after the Gun Club, it was sort of like, that was sort of the era that we came out of, which was just sort of right after the Gun Club.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was sort of the cowpunk.
Were all the bands cool with each other, or was there like a competitive rivalry there?
I mean, we all kind of used to rehearse in this warehouse rehearsal space that was run by the bass player from the Flesh Eaters, called Holly Gully. And so, like, a lot of the Saddle used to rehearse there, the Flesh Eaters, Gun Club, I think, used to rehearse there, and Tex and the Horseheads, which is the band that Jeffrey Lee put together for Texacala Jones, they used to rehearse there. So it was kind of like, you know, it was cool. We all, you know, but, yeah, I mean, Lone Justice kind of, like, I sort of got into going to clubs when there was, like, this sort of, like, sort of post-punk R&B blues kind of thing that was going on at the Café de Grand, which was the second punk club after the Mask.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a Blue Monday, which was like a blues night, R&B and blues night, hosted by this band called Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs. And Top Jimmy, they called him Top Jimmy because he worked at Top Taco, and he was from Kentucky, and he was kind of like a cross between Jim Morrison, Van Morrison, and Howlin' Wolf. And John Doe from X put a band together for him. And the initial band was John on bass and like some of the members of the Flesh Eaters and stuff, but then Jimmy put his own band together, and they were just like a really, really, really kind of like punk energy R&B and blues band, and they were my favorite band. And I used to, you know, I used to go and see them all the time, and then I like wrote a note to Top Jimmy telling him I was a singer, and he came to see me sing in my brother's band, and then he started asking me to jam with him on Monday night, and that was kind of how I started singing in the scene, in the club scene, you know, because like all the, you know, the Flesh Eaters would jam with them, and John Doe and the members of Act would jam with them, and also like Ray Manzarek would get up and play Hammond, and Dave Alvin from the Blasters used to play, and that was kind of how everyone first heard me sing, was there with Top Jimmy. He's passed away now.
Yeah.
He was really important to me.
I remember Van Halen did a song about him.
Yeah. Yeah, he was special. He was a special guy.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure there was a lot of craziness going on with the crowds in those days.
I mean, it was craziness in general. It's just like, you know, kind of, yeah, pretty wild, yeah.
Pretty streetwise.
I was really young. I was like 16, so I had people kind of taking care of me, making sure I was okay and safe.
Mm-hmm. Because there was a story where you guys were opening for Arthur Lee's comeback show at the Whiskey, and you guys ended up headlining because Arthur got the fuck out of there.
Well, that was that was Brian's band,
Mm-hmm.
and that was before Lone Justice, and when Brian was singing Alone Again, Arthur was in the wing. Alone Again, Arthur was in the wings,
Mm-hmm.
With a knife. He often threatened to kill Brian. That was one of those knives. So yeah.
Wow.
I love Arthur. But he's like family, always.
Of course.
I'm not fluid.
And is it true that Linda Ronstadt was instrumental in getting you guys signed to Geffen?
Yeah, she was. One of our earliest gigs was in this dive bar in the Valley, and I went into the ladies' room, and when I came out to wash my hands, Linda was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I grew up learning how to sing, listening to, like, Heart Like a Wheel,
Mm-hmm.
living in the USA, and I love her sort of post-punk record, too. So, where she sings out Allison, does, like, Elvis Costello, and so I was, Linda was one of my all-time heroes of all time, forever. And so I was like, oh, my God, how am I going to fucking perform now that Linda's here? But I did, and then she, as far as I know, was one of the people who called David Geffen and just said, you got to check out this band. So I feel like she's kind of my mom in a way.
She's your guardian angel for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the first album is it's so great. I remember being 12, seeing the video for Ways to Be Wicked on VH1 the big 80s. And
wow.
I loved it. And my dad was familiar with the song because he had heard Tom Petty do it at a concert once.
Yeah.
And he liked it and stuff. And so because Jimmy Iovine was the producer of the album, did he just say, "Here, Tom has a song for you guys"?
Well, yeah, he was always looking for the hits, Jimmy. So, like, he was like, let's do this one. It was this great Tom Petty song, should have been a hit. So, yeah, that's how we ended up doing it.
Yeah, I've heard Tom Petty's version too and stuff. You guys gave it such a rousing country feel to it that was lacking in Tom's version. Tom did kind of a birdsy, kind of almost semi garage rock version.
Yeah, I can't totally remember Tom's version. I haven't heard it since probably 1985, so I don't fully remember it. But yeah,
yeah. And you guys opened for U2. How was that?
Challenging. Being like a post-punk hillbilly band opening for this very intense sort of, I don't know what they are, like post-punk kind of. How would you describe U2? Almost like I don't know what they, like spirit rock. I don't know, spiritual rock. I don't know, but it was like they have a very, they in those days had a very devout audience. We had everything under the sun thrown at us.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it was a smaller venue, we would just, be literally covered in spit, by the end of the set.
Oh, that's not good.
So, but the European tours were really lush. So, we would play Rome, be done with the set in 20 minutes, and then have the whole night off, and 3 days off in Rome to wander around.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the next European city and have 4 days off to wander around.
Yeah.
So they knew how to tour right.
Yeah, spirit rock would definitely be a way to put it and stuff. It's just one of those sounds where you hear the song and you know it's U2 because of the way the Edge plays. He's got that bell ringing guitar sound, but you can't really you can't really categorize it. It's just a very special, unique sound they have.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, it was.
Yeah, so touring with them was. But I mean, I remember one of the tours was with Big Audio Dynamite, which was Mick Jones's band, and I remember like hanging out a lot with him and his crew, and they were really, really fun. Like Don Letts was part of his entourage, and like the photographer Josh Tooth, who chronicled the Beastie Boys in the early days, and Run DMC, and you had like this really cool entourage, and we would all hang out and like being taken under Mick Jones's wing on that tour was memorable. He would find like the underground house party in every city. Like it didn't matter if it was like a small Italian town or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like get to London and crash like really important parties there. Like so like it was. I remember like seeing Lee Bowery, for the first time at a party that I crashed with Mick Jones. Like I think we crashed like the Alex Cox. We didn't crash that one. We went to that one. It was the Alex Cox party for Straight to Hell.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is insane.
Like, yeah, like it was. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun with Big Audio Dynamite in those days.
Yeah, were you under a lot of pressure from the record company?
Constantly, 100%. I mean, the music business is hell. I'm so glad I'm barely in it anymore.
Yeah, because once you signed on to them, you were their product, and they were trying to sell you a certain way.
Oh yeah, nonstop. Just all the cliches. They're all true.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you obviously didn't sell your soul to the devil.
Well, I mean, I tried to sabotage my career so many times. I never fully successfully did it, but I think it was just like self-preservation. Just like a wolf caught in a trap, trying to gnaw their own paw off so they can get away.
Yeah. Whose decision was it to make the second album a little bit more conventional and pop-oriented?
I mean, I don't know if it was anyone's decision. It just sort of like, we just sort of woke up and it just sort of was, and it was like, it had happened. It was just kind of like, it's kind of like everything gets normalized.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the fascistic takeover of our country. It's like, it's not that we're crossing boundaries. It's that the boundaries keep shifting.
Yeah.
Until like everything is normalized, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what happened? It was kind of like that. It was just sort of like you just kind of go, oh, okay, I guess I have to do this, and then oh, okay, I guess I have to do that. The next thing I knew, I was on tour and I didn't know anyone in the band, and the music was like, sort of. Just, I don't know, like, I mean, I like the second album. It's closer to my solo work.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just jarring to suddenly wake up on the road and kind of go, oh, who are these people again? So,
Yeah.
And there was just so much pressure all the time.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I Found Love is my favorite Lone Justice song.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. And going back to your piano work, I love Wheels.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, those are two really sweet songs.
Yeah, I like Wheels. I still do Wheels occasionally when I play live.
Oh, nice. How did you guys hook up with Steven Van Zandt?
Through Jimmy,
Uh-huh.
Jimmy. Jimmy'd worked with Bruce, and he engineered Born to Run and stuff, so he knew Steve from way back when.
Mm-hmm. He has a thing for the Heartland rockers.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like more of an Italian East Coast kind of thing, I guess. But I'm part Italian, so I think that's one of the reasons why Jimmy sort of latched on to me as well.
Yeah, I'm half Italian on my mom's side.
Yeah, and I think it's why he loves Gwen and Gaga as well. He likes his blonde Italian girl.
Yeah. You guys got to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that was fun. I had laryngitis though.
Oh. So did you lip sync?
Oh no, God no! I haven't lip synced ever. No, it was but it was a memorable episode with William Shatner.
Yeah. It was the night that he told the Trekkies to get a life.
Yes, exactly. And I'm kind of a sci-fi nerd, so it was perfect for me.
Oh yeah, we're going to get into that in a little bit. I wanted to ask though, did you get to actually interact with Shatner?
I did a little bit, yeah. Well, I went to high school with his daughter,
Oh.
I'm ashamed to say that when I went into the dressing room and I saw him kind of walking around in a boiler suit, I didn't really look up, and I asked him to, there was a dirty tea tray, and I said, oh, do you mind taking this out? Because I thought he was a grip or something. I didn't know that it was yeah, and then after, when when you do the whole thing where you say goodnight, he kind of saddled it. Thank you. He sort of, you too, be safe. He sort of sidled up to me and was like, you have a very beautiful voice. And I said, oh, I went to school with your daughter. And then he kind of gasped.
Yeah, what a funny coincidence. I've heard from some people he can be a nice guy, and other times he can be a real jerk.
Yeah, no, he seemed, I was a young, cute girl, so he was probably nice to me, but I just love the fact that he's still, around and active and acting and alive, and it's great, because I love old cheese Star Trek. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys were under a lot of pressure. You broke up, and then Geffen gave you a solo contract.
Well, yeah. It just kind of kept going. I just sort of stayed on the label. So yeah.
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 I've forgotten.
I was on the label till 96, I think, 97, 98, somewhere around there. Long time.
Yeah. I've forgotten What Was In You was the first big hit you had, and then Show Me Heaven for the Days of Thunder soundtrack.
Yeah, Show Me Heaven was kind of a fluke, but yeah, that was a wild ride. I got to go on Top of the Pops and stuff. It was amazing.
Yeah, great song.
It wasn't a hit here, and nothing I've ever done has been a hit here. I had a song that I wrote for the first One Justice album called The Good Heart, and I used to hang out a lot with Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. He was one of Jimmy's best friends, and he always said, that song's a hit, that song's a hit, that song's a hit, but Jimmy was like, it's not good enough for the album. And so Dave Stewart took it back to England when he left LA, and then he produced this album by Fergal Sharkey, who was the lead singer in that Irish punk band, Northern Irish punk band called The Undertones.
Right.
Teenage Kicks was their big hit.
Mm-hmm.
And he made some sort of glam pop solo record, and they recorded that song, A Good Heart, and it was a smash #1 all over Europe and the UK, and it's still on the radio constantly.
Oh yeah.
But it was never a hit here.
I know.
It was Show Me Heaven.
It should have been. It should have been. It's a great song. It was in a bad movie, but it was a great song.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when I worked with Quentin Tarantino, I remember, he wanted to use, when he approached me for a song for Pulp Fiction, I said, well, I've done soundtrack work before, and he's like, oh, really, what? I love movies, so obviously. And I'm like, oh, Days of Thunder. I have the love ballad from Days of Thunder, and he just started jumping up and down. He's like, I love Days of Thunder. Oh my God, I can't believe you're talking about this. So, Days of Thunder has some illustrious fans, oddly enough. But, yeah, but the movie was a flop, but the song was a hit, thank God. So.
Yeah, you're talking about the song "If Love Is a Red Dress."
Yeah, that was the one, Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
I gotta go back and listen to that one. But I heard a couple songs from your newest album. How is it pronounced? La Vida Nuova.
La Vida Nuova. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that stuff you'd been working on for a while?
Yeah, I started writing Love You Nova around like early 2017.
Early 2017. I listened to Let Me Forget and Courage, and you still got it, Maria. They're beautiful songs.
Oh, thank you. I hope you hear the whole record. It's kind of a masterpiece, actually. It's sort of like mind-bogglingly, like, ornate and emotional and grand, and it's my favorite album that I've made to date. And, it luckily was received well by the press in Europe and the UK, which made me feel like I wasn't crazy thinking it was as good as it was. And I think it was like number 1 on the UK Americana chart and number 2 on the UK indie chart. So it did okay.
Nice. Yeah, I will definitely listen to the whole thing. I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing last night.
It takes a lot out of you. You have to like stick with it for you have to like put a couple hours aside, and and it's not an easy listen.
I think you're being hard on yourself.
Well, I mean, it's I mean that in the best possible way. Some of my favorite albums are like that. They just it's an arduous, emotional, musical journey. So it's
I can listen to Back in Black the whole way through, no problem.
Yeah.
So tell me about your love for horror sci-fi movies.
I think it probably started with my brother because he, even though he was 18 years older than I was, he moved back home from New York when I was around 8 years old, and basically like parked on our couch like the Big Lebowski for like my entire life. So he was just like there, and I was just he was a big kid who grew up in the 50s and 60s. So like we used to have this thing called Widescreen Theater every Friday night. I think it was like on Channel 5 or something. I don't know. Maybe it was 13. And they would show all the old, like, the great classic Universal horror films. And she always said, oh my gosh, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. Sit down right now and watch this. And sometimes we would just stay up all night watching, and the Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Would come on, the Twilight Zone would come on at midnight, and so he was like, we have to stay up for the Twilight Zone. And it's still my favorite thing ever of all time. And then also, they used to show all the Japanese sci-fi movies on Channel 5. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, they would do like week-long marathons of them. And so I really got into that.
Oh yeah.
And and then when I was a teenager, it just I remember when Alien came out, my brother basically he had bipolar, so when he was manic, he had that Robin Williams kind of thing where it was just like rapid fire genius, and he was like an impression of a movie for me, like
Yeah.
So. And then I finally had the guts to go and see it when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
But I went through like Rosemary's Baby, when that was on, he's like, you have to watch this. And we watched that together. And, and it just became like, I guess it was like really about him,
Mm-hmm.
those experiences.
Yeah, you grew up in that era of like Channel 5. In those movies. Yeah. I grew up in the era of like whatever was like released in the last 5 years is what I saw, right? But like right. we had UHF stations in the Bay Area that would play like public domain horror and sci-fi movies occasionally on a Saturday night at 2 a.m. and that was like my reference for those, But back when you were growing up, oh my God, they were just showing like all the classic, Universal horror films and the Japanese stuff you mentioned. I interviewed.
Yeah, and I also all the Edgar Allan Poe, like the Mask of the Red Death. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and just having my mind blown. So the Hammer stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, all the English ones, which are so great. What is it, 20 Million Miles from Earth, whatever, I can't remember the name of it, but it's, that one where they find the alien under the train station in London. Yeah, there was all those great movies that were constantly on.
Yeah.
Watch them all.
And in L.A., you had Sinister Seymour.
I don't remember that. Maybe that was later.
I don't know what years he was there. He was there for a long time, I know that, and then Elvira replaced him.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, in my generation, it was Joe Bob Briggs that I watched, and
yeah, I watched him too. Yep.
Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried on USA Up All Night, and before that there was Captain USA who actually passed away a couple years ago, and those were like my horror hosts. And I want to be a horror host. I was going to be filming a pilot last year for my own show, and it fell through because my comedy mentor, who I'm no longer friends with, he pulled out of it as producer, and I didn't want to do it without him. And I was just royally fucked by that, but I'm going to try again after the pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's hard.
It's okay. Yeah, it is hard, but...
Have you been to Monsterpalooza?
Oh, I go every year.
Oh, every year?
Yeah. I love Monsterpalooza. I have met so many people I grew up watching, and I've had many of them on the podcast over the last 3 years I've been doing it. It's amazing. Do you go?
I've only been once. But it was a good one. I met Russ Camblin, and yeah, it was good.
Oh, that was
Margot Kidder.
Oh, that was before I started going. I started going in 2016.
Oh, okay.
I went twice in 2016 and 17. I had to skip 18. I went both times last year, and then obviously because of the pandemic, I had to skip.
Right.
And let's see, the first horror movie I ever saw was The Shining, and my parents they showed it to me when I was only a year old, and it fucked me up. I did not watch it again until I was like 7, and then I loved it.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
It came out.
My dad saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the theater.
Wow. I don't really go in for slasher movies that much, but I recognize the importance. I'm more into the sort of psychological and The Exorcist is one of my all-time favorites.
Oh yeah.
Just for the filmmaking. It's just so extraordinary.
It is. Yeah.
It just goes to the outer edge,
I've interviewed Pazuzu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I've met Linda Blair. She's not a nice person, I'll tell you.
Oh, really? I think she was there when I was Monsterpalooza.
Yeah, they actually have her every single year because she's a huge, draw for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, she's just not very nice, And she's got all these entourage and security people, and they're like asking every fan like what their motive is for meeting her and stuff. Just it's not a welcoming vibe,
Wow, that's not very fan friendly.
Nope. It's really, really sad, unfortunately. Do you like the Ray Harryhausen movies?
Yeah, I love them.
So,
I was just watching. Oh God, what was? Jason and
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah. Grew up with those.
I was a big Sinbad guy.
Yeah, and I love Val Lewton. I love all that stuff.
Val Lewton,
Val film.
Yeah.
I Walked with a Zombie is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed the great dancer Michael Boogaloo Chambers, and he told me his biggest influence as a dancer was the Ray Harryhausen Creatures. Just the way he moves, really slow.
How
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, he's from the same era as you. He grew up watching all those sci-fi movies. He told me, on Channel 5, and he just he was inspired by it. People ask him all the time if Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire influenced him. He says, no, I definitely respected them, but the Ray Harryhausen Creatures were my biggest influence.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah. It's
See that actually.
yeah, it's crazy. I thought that was very interesting and a really good anecdote for a podcast. I felt,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely.
So, do you have like a top 10 list of your favorite horror or sci-fi movies?
Oh yeah. Rosemary's Baby. I mean, this is not in order. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Like I said, the Val Whedon films I love. Probably I Walk with a Zombie and The Seventh Victim. I love The Sentinel. I think it's really chilling.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
The one with Claude Rains. Actually, she's not related to Claude Rains. We own Christina Rains and Michael Sarrazin and Burgess Meredith.
Chris Sarandon. Yeah, I've met him.
Yeah. What else? Alien, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's some new ones that are pretty great. I think Midsummer was amazing.
I didn't see
it was
that
really
one.
Powerful.
I didn't see that one.
I saw one the other night that I thought was really good called Relic.
Oh yeah.
It was made last year.
Oh, I got that mixed up with another one. Sorry.
Well, there's one called The Relic, but that's not
Yeah.
the same one. I love Altered States. I was just talking about that.
Oh,
And
great
we were
one.
talking about Ken Russell.
Great one.
I don't know. And then there's like all the Michael Powell. I mean, they're not sci-fi or horror, but like Peeping Tom is really powerful. Michael Powell.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of the first movie to sort of give a conscience and like a sort of empathetic kind of twist to a serial killer, where you sort of get their backstory and their perspective and how they became a serial killer. It was really ahead of its time, and it ruined Michael Powell's career. And then I love like Shadow of a Doubt, Hitchcock. It's my favorite Hitchcock. I think Joseph Cotton is so chilling in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I'm trying to think. I don't know. My brain is going blank, but yeah.
Well, let's see. My list. My favorite slasher movie of all time is the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not as fond of slasher movies.
Oh yeah, it's subjective.
I think that the Jeepers Creepers movies are pretty fucking cool, actually. Especially the first one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those, but like Friday the 13th, I love the original Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, well, I love Night of the Living Dead. It's one of the greats.
Yes.
For me.
I've been so lucky. I've interviewed so many of those Romero people from the zombie movies. Yeah.
I think 28 Days Later is really, really great.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I love Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yeah, I never got into the. I'm not as into those or the Nightmare movies or the Friday the 13th or Jason movies. Not as into those. More into like sort of gothic horror, sci-fi, psychological horror, stuff like that. I've always wanted to see Steel and Splat.
Oh, the Toby Hooper one from 1979?
Is that the one?
With James Mason?
Maybe. I think that's the one.
That's actually on Alice Cooper's top 10 list of the best horror movies, he thinks.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think I want to see that one. And I love like Poltergeist. I just watched that again the other night. I grew up, with that one. Went to see it.
Oh, yeah. My mother hates that movie because it's so cursed.
Yeah, I really love it. I think it's so good.
Yeah. Let's see. I think the 1931 Dracula holds up.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, The Bride of Frankenstein is like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes.
Also, the original Island of Lost Souls, just so extraordinary.
Island Lost Souls, yeah.
And also The Black Cat, really chilling. The original Mummy, so beautiful.
Do you remember Carnival of Souls?
Yeah, I love that one. Love Carnival of Souls.
Yeah.
Also, Eyes Without a Face is really amazing. French film.
I never saw that. I remember the Billy Idol song, Eyes Without a Face.
Oh, yeah, no, the film is incredible.
I'll check it out.
Really beautiful. Really stunning.
I love, let's see, for sci-fi, I love, Star Wars movies, the original Star Wars movies. This year I've talked to a lot of people from them.
I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, I'm not a Star Wars person particularly. I went to see the first one when it came out and was very exciting, and then I went to Princess Leia for Halloween that year, the year it came out. And then I just sort of dropped, my interest in it just sort of dropped away. Until The Mandalorian, which I loved. I think it's great. I've watched it a bunch of times. Can't wait for the new season.
Yeah. Blade Runner.
Yeah, I like Blade Runner. I'm not like too. What did I just see recently that was? Oh, I can't think now. Same writer. Oh, my brain. Philip K. Dick, but it was, what was it? It was. Oh, I was watching I don't know if you've seen the series, The Man in the High Castle.
No. Doesn't ring a bell.
Look it up.
Okay.
Man in the High Castle. It's new. It's interesting. It's like an alternative history. I found this kind of thing based on Philip K. Dick, based on the. It's not. It doesn't really follow the novel, but it kind of does.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's basically that the Axis won the war. So, like, America is like, the East Coast is like the Third Reich, and then the West Coast is the Pacific States of Japan. And then the middle of the state is like the sort of neutral zone. The middle of the country is the neutral zone. And people keep finding this newsreel, which is basically our history, and it's like, and basically it's because there's like these parallel universes that you can dip in and out of. It's interesting. It's fun.
Nice.
It's a brand new series.
Nice. Do you watch Stranger Things?
I watched the first season, but then I don't know why. I just haven't gotten around to watching that. Is it good? Is the second season good?
Honestly, I have not seen it, but my brother's obsessed with it. He keeps telling me I need to watch it. I probably will eventually.
The first season was great, and then I just stopped, so I need to get back to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely get back. I'll definitely try it and stuff, because he knows that I love all the 80s stuff that they reference.
Oh, yeah. It's fun for that.
Yeah. You like
War Games. War Games is great.
Oh, yeah, War Games.
Speaking of Haley, yeah.
I interviewed an actor who was supposed to play Matthew Broderick's role in War Games, and to this day he's still bitter he didn't get it.
Who was it?
His name is Jeffrey Weissman. The biggest role he ended up getting was he was the second George McFly in Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Oh, interesting, because Kristen Glover was my high school friend, and we actually went to the prom together.
Really?
Yeah.
What a funny coincidence! Oh my God.
Yeah, we double dated with Nicolas Cage and his date, yeah, Kristen was like a really good friend. We're still in touch on Instagram. He lives in Prague now, I think, or Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
yeah.
I dropped a hint that I was going to be interviewing you on Facebook, and one of your classmates I've interviewed said, "Tell Maria I said hi."
Who?
Bo Dremen.
Oh, Bo.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo? What did you interview? Bo was in the Twilight Zone, I remember.
He was in The Heavenly Kid and My Science Project. Huh? He was in The Heavenly Kid and My Science Project.
Oh, okay. Because Bo, I think Bo was in one of the 80s Twilight Zone episodes.
Yes, he is. Yeah, we talked about that. I interviewed him 2 weeks ago. The sound turned out a little bit shitty on his end, but we had a really good interview, and he was a very nice guy.
Yeah, Bo's great. I mean, I haven't seen him since 1982, but...
But yeah, he remembers going to school with you, he said. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy.
He's a
New Jersey.
Very sweet. He's a what?
He's from New Jersey.
Oh, that's right. He is from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, oh my God. Oh, it's funny too. I bring up Jeffrey Weissman. For 15 years, he was Stan Laurel and Charlie Chaplin on the Universal tour, and that was his bread and butter when he couldn't get acting roles. And he pretty much got blacklisted from the industry because he had guest starred on an episode of Murder, She Wrote, and Angela Lansbury was offended that he particularly was playing Stan Laurel on the tour because she knew Stan Laurel.
What?
Yeah.
Like she'd be mean like that.
I don't think she was mean necessarily. I just think that, she thought that he wasn't qualified to play Stan Laurel or something. I think he kind of looks like him a little bit with his eyes,
Have you seen there's a new movie about Laurel and Hardy with John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, I think it is?
I remember seeing the preview for that, and I remember there was one back in the late 90s, too, with Bronson Pinchot playing Stan Laurel and Gaylord Sartain playing Oliver Hardy. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And it's funny, too.
I should probably head off because I've actually got groceries. I'm sitting on my porch, and they just delivered my groceries, and they're sitting in the sun. I need to take them up.
Well, before you go, can we play my secret silly game real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is a series of silly slumber party questions, and how this works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question, and I answer it.
Okay.
Maria, are you ticklish?
Yes. Are you?
Yes, I'm baby ticklish. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
An outie. What about yours? I'm sorry, an innie. God, what was I thinking? No, it's an innie. What about yours?
I also have an innie. It's very deep.
Oh, God. Oh, that gives me the chills just thinking about it. Okay.
It's my favorite part of the body, too. What color are your toenails painted?
I have not painted them in several months. What about you?
Same. They were purple with sparkles last time.
Oh, that sounds good. I want to do that.
Yeah, I like to go elaborate. What would you say is your best personality trait?
I think I'm nurturing. I think that's probably my best personality trait. Mm-hmm. Like maternal and nurturing. What about yours?
I think I have empathy, and I also have no filter.
Oh, is that good?
I think it is.
Okay, good.
And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Stinky smell that just makes me gag. Let me think. I mean, I have dogs, so I'm kind of used to stinky smells. Probably rotten garbage in the summertime.
Yeah, that's a popular one.
What about you?
It's either farts or feet. Whenever I tell that to someone with kids, it doesn't affect them.
So funny. Oh my God. Okay. Is that your final question?
It is, and I hope you had a good time today, Maria.
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Tommy.
My pleasure. You're a lot of fun to talk to, and let's continue talking on Instagram because we have some really interesting conversations.
Yeah.
And stay safe. I hope after all this craziness is over, you get to perform live again.
Yeah, good luck with your hosting jobs and stuff.
Oh, thank you. I'll keep you up to date with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, Tommy. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Maria McKee. Ain't she a sweetheart? Ah, she's really cool, isn't she? Oh my God, she's like one of the guys, and you can have a great conversation with her. I like her an awful lot. If you don't know her music, check it out. She is a talented, talented lady. She's Janis Joplin and Patsy Cline combined. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!